Hi, this is Jamey with Stonemeyer Games, and today I'm here to talk to you about a favorite game mechanism of mine in several games. I'm going to talk about games like Fresco, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, Between Two Cities, and Scythe. The mechanism that I want to talk about is I love tension in games where you're adding up the score at the end. Um, I love mechanisms that let you build that tension as you are gaining those points at the end. Um, and I'll compare this. I'll compare this to say Seven Wonders. It's a wonderful game, obviously. Seven Wonders has a score pad, and even there's an app now where you can keep score in the app, and it's very convenient. So this is there's nothing wrong with convenience, but by having someone record those scores on the notepad or the app in a way that you can't see them, and then there's a final reveal, uh, I think can take a lot of tension out of the game. I think it's a lost opportunity. We considered this method for Between Two Cities when I was developing Between Two Cities with Ben and Matthew. Um, for all intents and purposes, it could have an app or a score pad, but instead we put a scoreboard in the game, and you score city by city, category by category. So I'll say, okay, we're scoring now for houses, and everyone will take their piece and for the city on their left, and they'll move their city token up on the scoreboard for their house score. And by doing this, you get to see how you compare to other players step by step. There's a visual there to see, so you can compare how your city compares to the other players. And there's a building tension as someone might get like way far ahead, but maybe then they won't score at all in a category or score very low, and people will catch back up. It ends up feeling like almost a game of its own, even though you're not making choices anymore. It feels a little bit like a race there at the end where you're trying to catch the other players or trying to pull ahead of them as you're accumulating the score. And there's a really nice tension to this. That's Between Two Cities. In Fresco, I don't even know if it's an official rule in Fresco, but this is how I score Fresco and Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Games in which you could just count up your own score and move your score marker to where it should go, and then compare scores. But I think it's much more interesting the way I score these games is that I start with the player in last place, and they do their scoring. So category by category, they do their scoring. They end up at their top score. And then we go to the next highest player and the next highest player. So every time there's a chance for you to catch up to the other players, it becomes a little game of its own to build tension there at the end. And in Scythe is another example where you could just have one player keep track of the scores on a score pad and then tell all the players what the score is. But instead, I really want players to feel like inside you're gaining coins. Coins are points. And so I want players not to count it in their head, not to count it on a score pad, but to physically pick up the coins as they score each category, put them in their hands, and reveal them at the end. Inside, I don't ask for a banker or a player to like assign the score. So it's not really done category by category. You are accumulating your own wealth and then revealing it to the other players. But the physical act of picking up those coins for your score and putting them in your hands as you have this growing pile. Here, I actually have the coins here. Like you want these coins in your hand at the end of the game so you can reveal how much money you made, how big your score is. I think, and I'm talking about this today, and I'm passionate about this because a game that ends well and ends with tension and ends with a little bit of drama at the end is, I think, the difference between a good game and a great game. And it can really just elevate the experience of the game. And really, I mean, that's maybe not even the best way to put it because Seven Wonders is a great game. I'm not saying that Seven Wonders isn't a great game, but I think, I guess I'm mentioning this more to game designers, that the way you have players count their score at the end matters. That matters based on how they feel about the game, and it matters how everyone walks away from the game and how they feel when they walk away from the game. It's not a throwaway. And there are design elements you can do that you can tell players to do and encourage them to do at the end of the game that can impact their impression of the game. So I'd suggest that you think about that. And I think Between Two Cities is a great example of it because it is a pure example where you could have kept track of the score on a score pad, but instead we printed a board, we made city tokens, like we built mechanisms in this game around the concept of end game scoring because it was that important to us. And I'd recommend you consider the same thing in your game designs. So for the comments today, I'd love for you to talk about a game where the end game scoring enhances the overall play and impression of the game. It actually, the way that that end game scoring works makes it a better game. I'd love to hear examples of that. Thanks.